And say it in a way so that the person next to you can hear you. And subhanAllah, I can give you countless reasons why. Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah wrote a whole book, but quickly I'm going to give you 5. The first is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does it, the angels do it, Allah orders us to do it. We all know the verse, right? Inna Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi ya ayyuha alladhina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu taslima. Verily Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His angels send peace and blessings upon the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. O you who believe, send an order, right? Peace and blessings upon the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The second reason is because there's a hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ said that every time you send peace and blessings upon him, Allah, God, sends 10 blessings upon you and erases 10 bad deeds and gives you 10 good deeds and raises your ranks 10 degrees in paradise. So if that was the only benefit, that would be enough, correct? How many of us did hundreds of bad deeds today? Hopefully none of us. So by saying Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam 10 times, you'll get 100 good deeds. And I ask you to say it in a way so that the person next to you hears, so that if they have forgotten, or if they're shy to do so, and you say it and they're reminded, you get double the reward, inshallah. So do we have a deal? Yes? Okay. So I wanted to welcome you all to Muhsin's first fundraising dinner. And for those who do not know, Muhsin, Muslims Understanding and Helping Special Education Needs, was founded by Imam Omar Suleiman. And it's a nonprofit umbrella organization serving the community to establish a more inclusive, special, friendly environment for our brothers and sisters of all disabilities. SubhanAllah, when Imam Omar Suleiman came to me and contacted me about this event, when he told me about it, I immediately accepted because I thought, SubhanAllah, what a beautiful thing. I never heard of an organization before that took care of people with special needs. And I was so honored and happy that he thought of me. And ever since then, I've been thinking, what are we going to talk about? What should I make the theme of tonight, since I'm going to be kind of guiding you all through the night tonight? And then last night, subhanAllah, I prayed istikhara. And I thought of something. I want to have this night called the Keys to Jannah. And inshallah, I'm going to share with you a few keys to Jannah. And what is Jannah, paradise? It's a place in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes as a place where the believers will not grieve, nor will they have any fears. They will not feel any pain, and they will not have any hardships. It will be eternal bliss. SubhanAllah, eternal bliss. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, and to them will be said, peace be upon you for what you have patiently endured in this life. And excellent is the final home. However, as we all know, in this life, we're all tested. Every single one of us. And we're all tested in different ways. Some of us are tested in their health, some of us in their wealth, some of us with our children, some of us are tested by war. They're living in a war zone. Some people are tested by death, having a loved one pass away. So we're all tested. But Allah, God, the Almighty, comforts us in His book, in the Quran. He says, surely the patient ones will be given their reward without account. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that when you're patient, He will reward you in a way that's not measurable. And in another verse, He said, except those who are patient and do righteous deeds, those will have the forgiveness of their Lord, and they will have a great reward. And subhanAllah, while I was reading through the Quran, I noticed that in 4 different spots, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Allah ma'as sabiri. Allah is with the patient person. Imagine that when you're going through a hardship and you're patient, at that moment, God, Allah is with you. And another verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاللَّهُ يُحِبُّ الصَّابِرِينَ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves those who are patient. How beautiful is that? Don't we all want the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So the Prophet ﷺ, he taught us so much. And I was waiting for it, and I was like, you guys are getting better. Last week, me and Sister Yasmin were in Florida, and we were at the ICNA at an event. And subhanAllah, they did better than you guys. And it's kind of sad because this is my hometown, right? Oh, I told them they were doing bad because the week before, thank you, Sister Yasmin, I was in Nashville, and mashallah, in Nashville, there was a very small amount of people, but guess what? Every time I said Rasulullah, the floor shook, mashallah, tabarakallah. So I was expecting this to happen in Dallas, but subhanAllah, inshallah khair. So, to get this sense, just a little bit, and to get a little bit of perspective about Muhsin and about how this is affecting our community, I spoke to a few parents of children with special needs, and I spoke to my good friend who's also here. She's not only my good friend, but she's like a sister to me, Sister Noreen, who's a behavioral analyst, and she works with children with disabilities on a daily basis. And subhanAllah, we had such a long conversation because I needed some insight. I needed something that I could reflect on to share with you all today. And one of the things that Noreen told me, that when I shut the phone, that was like the last thing she said, I was in tears for about 30 minutes. And I wanted to quote her and share that with you today. She said, Dunya, I wish people knew the joy and the blessings that come with working with individuals with special needs. They're so loving, they're so sweet, they're so innocent. They remind me that there's still good in this world. And I cried because right before I spoke to a mother of a child with special needs, and she told me one of her biggest concerns was that, and subhanAllah, she actually asked me to keep her anonymous. When I spoke with her, I was like, sister, do you mind if I mention your name? And she said, please don't mention my name. And think about that. Isn't it telling you something when a mother does not want you to mention her name, that she told you something about her child? Just think about that for a moment. I didn't want to ask her why, but I think all of us could kind of imagine or think of why she wouldn't want me to mention her name specifically. But she told me, she said, my major concern was that there wasn't much awareness in the Muslim community. And it pains me that when I'm around Muslims, when I'm around my community, they don't understand. There's not awareness. But when I go outside of the community, I find that comfort and that awareness and that understanding. And she says, I wish that I could find that in my own community. She also said that one of the biggest things that hurts her is that people don't come up to her and talk to her. Muslims. They see her in hijab in the mall with her son, and they don't talk to her. They don't say salams. And the one person out of 100 who do say salams, they never acknowledge her child. They completely ignore him. And she said, that pains me. And I asked her, if there could be one thing that could be done, what would you want it to be? And she said, Sister Dunya, I wish our community had sensitivity training in our mosques. I wish not only the adults, but the children and everyone was taught and trained and aware of the conditions that their brothers and sisters may have. When she said this to me, I thought, we are the Ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that we are the best nation. But yet, this is how our community is. We should be a community that doesn't judge. a community that helps one another, that supports one another. And that's what Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam taught us. I want you to listen to this beautiful hadith, this beautiful saying of the Prophet, peace be upon him. Once he was sitting with the companions, and he said to them, "Shall I show you a woman of paradise?" And they jumped and they said, "Of course, please, tell us, show us." And at that moment, a woman walked in. And she said, "Oh, Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, please pray for me. I have epilepsy. Can you please pray for me?" And he, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, told her, "If you'd like, I'd pray for you. But if you'd like, be patient, and I promise you paradise. I promise you Jannah." And she said, "I'll be patient. But when I get my episodes, I undress. Can you just pray that I don't undress?" And he did. He taught the companions, and he taught every Muslim from that time until the Day of Judgment that people with special needs are people of Jannah walking on this earth. People with special needs are people of Jannah, of paradise, walking on this earth. And he taught us to pay special attention to our brothers and sisters' feelings. And I'm mentioning this because as I was talking to the sister, she told me one of the most hurtful things is the looks that I get. Is the looks when people look at me. When people give me these stares or these glares. And I thought, subhanAllah, we have such a beautiful religion where our Prophet taught us that if 3 people are sitting together, 2 are not allowed to whisper to each other. And then he completed by saying, because you may hurt the feelings of the one who's sitting, who's not listening. He cared. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God Almighty, cares so much about our feelings. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us how to deal with each other, and we've forgotten this lost sunnah. And another hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "You will not believe until you have compassion towards one another." And the Sahaba said, "Ya Rasulullah, we have compassion towards each other." He said, "No, not the compassion that you have towards a friend or a family member. Compassion is the compassion that you have to all people, the people that you know and those that you don't." The Prophet ﷺ cared about everyone, and he taught us to do the same. SubhanAllah, one of the things that I learned when preparing for today is the financial and emotional toll many families with special needs have. There's so many parents that are in massive debt because they're trying to provide the most effective therapies or the most effective medical services for their children. And one sister said that she took a second mortgage on her home, and she had to pull out her children from Islamic school, her other children, so that she can pay for therapy for her special child. And so, when she said that, she completed by saying this: "I have no one to talk to and no one to go to. I feel like my community abandoned me." And I wanted to end with this amazing hadith, where the Prophet ﷺ said, "The most beloved people to Allah are those who help and benefit people most. And the most beloved actions to Allah is pleasure or happiness that you cause to enter into the heart of another person, or to solve one of their problems, or to pay off his or her debt, or to prevent him from being hungry. And working to help your brother or sister is more beloved than praying all day and all night in my mosque, in the Prophet ﷺ mosque in Medina, which we all know the great reward of praying there. And whoever controls their anger, Allah will conceal their faults. And whoever controls their ill feelings, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will fill their heart with content on the Day of Judgment. And whoever strives to fulfill a need of his brother, Allah will make his feet steadfast on the Day of Judgment. The day that's going to be so long. The day that everyone will be afraid of. And then he ended the hadith. After teaching us the beautiful things we should do, he said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, bad manners ruin good deeds, just like vinegar ruins honey. The Prophet ﷺ spent his whole life in the service of people, because that's one of the greatest acts of worship and the closest path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he told us that one of the keys to Jannah is to do the same. And the Sahaba learned this from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When you think after his death, Umar radiallahu anhu, he heard that there was a woman who was blind who lived on the outskirts of Medina. So he went to her after Fajr one day. And he wanted to fulfill her needs, clean up her house, bring her food. But he noticed that everything was already done. So he asked her, how did you do this? She said, oh my son, a young man comes every morning and he does it all for me. So he says, who is this man? She's like, my son, I'm blind. I don't know who he is, but he comes every day. So Umar radiallahu anhu was like, how is someone beating me to this? I just heard about this woman. So the next day he hides and he waits to see who it was. And it was no one other than Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. And when he saw Abu Bakr, he told him, I swear by Allah, I knew that nobody would beat me to this except for you. So with this story, I'd like to end my speech and welcome Sheikh Abdel Nasser Janda, who is the founder and director of Qalam Institute. And I wanted to mention something personal about him. One of the things about Sheikh Abdel Nasser is that, mashallah, he's one of the most humble people I've ever met in my life. Even though, mashallah, he has so much going on, I still remember him driving all the way from Arlington to Richland College in his red Camaro to teach me and literally a handful of students. We weren't more than 5. Twice a week. He taught us fiqh. And he was almost never late, and he never missed out on it. So with that, I'd like to welcome Sheikh Abdel Nasser Janda.